Hi there, and welcome to the show. I've got a quote to start the day. If everything is important, then nothing is important. Where could you be better at prioritizing this week? Well, what's important to you? And those are some great questions. And those were actually the daily quotes and the question in the self-journal. And that also kind of ties in nicely with what we're going to cover in today's episode of the All Around Growth podcast. Well, welcome to the show, everyone. This is episode number 98 of the All Around Growth podcast. And this is a show focused on building the lives of our dreams. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. Today is Monday, February 15th, 2021. It is not so much of a chilly day today as it is a snowy day, and I'm somewhat conflicted as I sent an email to the folks at the day job indicating that if we are experiencing a winter storm warning or since we're experiencing a winter storm warning, I may be working from home on Monday. But since the winter storm is not that bad, and we have not received that much snow yet, I have decided to head into the day job. I'm just a little bit more productive there, and while I want them to get accustomed to me working from home remotely, I feel that this is what's best. More on that later. Okay, the topic of today's show, and the title of today's show is The Easiest and the Hardest Step. And that is baby step 1. Now again, the quote of the day is, if everything is important, then nothing is important. And what could you be better at prioritizing this week? Well, personally, for me, it's my finances. Well, why are we talking about this today? And some of you may be thinking, oh God, here he goes again with the money business. Well, money is the number one cause of divorce. And I also think that we have been lied to with regard to debt and what good debt is. I don't agree with good debt, and I think we've been taught that some debt is good. For example, school loans and financing of vehicles and other things. And I have learned that freedom from debt equals financial freedom, and financial freedom can lead to freedom in general. And we'll get to more on all of that soon enough. But historically, I've done a terrible job of managing my finances. And I won't get into the specifics of all of that right now, but you can learn more about my own past with finances in episode 91, titled Personal and Business Money Management Software, episode number 79, The Money Talk, and episode number 15, titled Financial Peace. Now, if you listen to those episodes, you will hear my own motivation. And I presume that you have your own financial motivators. Now, for me, I wanted to get out of debt and move on with my life. I began feeling as though the burden of debt was suffocating me. The roads actually are pretty bad. I'm going to drive down the road a little bit and rethink this. But, like I was saying, I began feeling as though the burden of debt was suffocating. And I really wanted to get out of debt. But how? I'd been listening to Dave Ramsey for a long time. And I initially began listening to Dave Ramsey just as an alternative to political talk radio. Dave Ramsey was the very first podcast that I started listening to. And again, I'm not going to get into my history with Dave Ramsey. You can hear more about that in those past episodes. But the long and short of it is, until I find a superior system to manage my finances and basically manage my life, I'm going to focus on what Dave Ramsey teaches. And today, that's what I'm doing, and that's why we're talking about this in Baby Step 1 in today's show. Now, as previously mentioned, money is the number one cause for divorce. We've been lied to about good debt. And I do believe that debt freedom is the first step towards financial freedom. And financial freedom is a huge step in the process of obtaining personal freedom. So another question that I want to pose is, how many of us are broke out there? All right, how many of us are living paycheck to paycheck? Now, I'm grateful that I'm not living paycheck to paycheck now, but it wasn't but 6 months ago that I was. I had no credit. I had literally no credit. I had no ability to obtain credit, no credit cards, and I had was still building up my emergency fund. And that was a little nerve-wracking. So for the first time in my life recently, I am not living paycheck to paycheck, and that's part of the reason why I may be so focused on money. I mean, some of you may argue that I am hyper-focused on money. And I've even talked about the danger of hyper-focus in the past with episode number 17 of the podcast. All of these links to past podcasts are available in the show notes, so check it out if you're interested in past episodes of the show. And perhaps I am hyper-focused, but I want to be. I need to be. I've taken on that gazelle intensity that Dave Ramsey talks about in Financial Peace University. Now, baby step 1 is the hardest step, and it's also the easiest baby step. It's the hardest step because we've got to start making some changes in behavior. It's the easiest step because we've committed to these behavior changes. Now, when we commit to getting out of debt, we also commit to building wealth. And when we do this, we need to learn how to protect it too. That's part of what we're doing. Now, 10 million families have gone through Financial Peace University. I've heard from a lot of people that they have too, but it didn't work for them. You can do this. If you've done it once, you can do it again. For me, I found the secret to the program. The secret to the program was charity. So I dovetailed this part of my life, this aspect of my life, with the spiritual aspect of my life, and returned to focusing on finding a church home, and luckily I did. And if that's not something that's savory to you, if you don't like the idea of church, that's okay. Find an organization that works for you and give 10%. Oh, those organizations are corrupt. I don't want to do the church, it's corrupt. I don't want to do this organization, it's corrupt. I don't want to... Okay. If you're convinced everybody's corrupt, even go to the point and diversify your charity. But I'm telling you, it was only when I began giving it away that I could begin to keep it. So I'm convinced that the secret of our success is giving our money away. Baby step one is putting $1,000 into a baby emergency fund. Where am I going to get $1,000? I got so much debt, bills to pay. You also have things to sell. Again, this is all about changing our behaviors and learning how to do things differently. Facebook Marketplace, it's a thing. Craigslist is a thing. Nextdoor is a thing. OfferUp is a thing. Mercari is a thing. eBay is a thing. All these are platforms that are easy to use, give you an opportunity to sell your stuff. I recently got an office chair, and now you'll see where this is going in a second. But I'm mostly to work, and I'm still on the fence about actually going to work, but I might leave early. We'll see how it goes. And that's probably what I'll do. But I got this office chair, right? And the reason why I want to share this story about an office chair is because you can have success selling your stuff. I don't think I could sell this office chair. I probably could. I could probably get $10 for it or something, not really expensive. But I had a date last week, or maybe a couple weeks ago, and I think it was last week. And somebody on the square was throwing this chair out. It was a nice office chair. It had some flaking of the vinyl on the armrest, but the cushioning in the chair and everything about it was relatively nice. So it was dark out. I couldn't see it. I threw it in the back of my truck, and then I took it home. It is now my new office chair. But there's a lot of people out there like me that are willing to repurpose someone else's garbage. But there's also a lot of other people out there that are willing to buy used stuff, and maybe something that you have that you don't think is of value, or just simply isn't of value to you anymore, might very well be of value to someone else. So, put your stuff up, make a few bucks, and it's those patterns of behavior. And once we begin to become consistent with those patterns of behavior, that's how we begin to accumulate that $1,000 in that baby emergency fund. So it's repetitive patterns of behavior. We are literally reprogramming and repatterning our life, our minds, and the way in which we live. So, I've been at this. I've had Dave Ramsey on the brain for, 10 years at least. And I have only been actively implementing Financial Peace University in my life for about 4 years. And I'm only comfortable saying I've actively been working the program for less than 1 year. And it wasn't until I actually began coordinating the course, when I began working the program exactly in the manner that Dave outlines working it. And that includes the specificity of giving. And I am now a firm believer that the reason oftentimes people say they have not had success with the program and the way that Dave works it, or they want to modify some of the teachings that Dave has because of their own reasoning or rationale, specifically if it's failure-based or if they have criticisms about that program and it didn't work for them, it's because they didn't work the program specifically in the manner it was intended to be worked. And that includes giving. This is a very, very, very important part. You got to give it away to keep it. You got to give it away to keep it. And you got to give it away to keep it. I don't know what else to say. Like I said, for me, I had the program had been on my mind for the past decade or so. I'd actively participated in and worked it for years. Gone through and participated in the program 3 times. Still didn't stick. It wasn't until I actually coordinated the program and got so much feedback that I realized and I learned that charity, giving, is the key to success. Now, this isn't an episode on giving, and isn't an episode on charity, but it is an episode on baby step 1, and the title of the episode is The Hardest and the Easiest Step. And giving is part of the program. It's not necessarily part of the step. It's saving $1,000, and in order to do that, we're changing our behaviors. We're changing what we do. And there's a lot of people that make the argument that giving 10% of your income is not the best thing to do when you're getting out of debt. And I'm even willing to listen to that argument, because while that's not what the program promotes, that is what I and so many other people did. What I'm saying is, when I began to move forward with the program, and when I actually began to make considerably more progress with the second baby step, getting out of debt, when I began giving to charity towards the tail end of that, the progress on my debt payments really began to accelerate, and I could only think of what would have happened had I done that in the very beginning, from the start, and I worked that program like it was supposed to be worked from the beginning. And I only wonder what would have happened if I'd have taken that mindset from the very first time I took a Financial Peace University course. With the progress, big air quotes, I made over 4 years is something I could have done in 2. Most likely, because I really didn't make any progress the first 2 years after attending that course. So all we can do is live and learn and try to make improvements, and improvements in life, and setting goals utilizing 7 different categories is what we are doing consistently on this show, and what we are talking about with regularity each and every day. So I appreciate you tuning into the show. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're listening. There's a community of people just like you that are listening to the show too. Where? On Telegram Messenger. It's an app on your phone, your tablet. There's even a nice desktop version of the app for both Apple and Windows. That's it. Operating systems. It's a great desktop experience. It's nice on the phones too. But we've got a small community there called All Around Growth. Check it out. t.me/allaroundgrowth. If you like what you hear and you want to support the show somehow, the best way that you can do that is going to the show notes, scrolling all the way to the bottom, and you can see a link in all capital letters. Click here to rate and review the show. That'll take you to Apple Podcasts. Actually, you know what? I need to check that link because I'm not entirely sure it's a functional link. So, I thought about that this weekend and took no action on it, so I'm thinking about it this morning. And anyways, yeah, hopefully I do that, but go to that link and hopefully, provided I follow up on what it is that I am talking about, you will be able to rate and review that podcast. And that's helpful with the show. I'm sitting here wondering about a number of things and wondering if that link is actually broken. Perhaps that's why we're not gaining some of the traction I'd hoped to gain. At any rate, friends, rate and review the podcast however you can. It's appreciated. And join the community, t.me/allaroundgrowth on your internet browser, or simply search for All Around Growth in the Telegram Messenger app. Thank you for listening. My name is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.